From our free daily newsletter, the latest from podnews.net with Podscribe. SiriusXM has been announced as the exclusive advertising representative of YouTube audio advertising in the US. It's a significant addition to SiriusXM Media's portfolio, which will now be able to reach 255 million monthly listeners. That's almost 90% of all US adults aged 13 or older. SiriusXM also released data from Edison Research showing that around 74% of US adults consume YouTube audio or engage in listening first behaviors on YouTube. 45% consume YouTube content with static visuals. It's good news for us. And 48% listen while video is minimized or in the background. Sounds Profitable released new research on audio primes, the people who listen to at least 75% of their content as audio. That's 22% of podcast consumers, and they're younger and more educated. While they choose audio for podcasts, audio primes are also, surprisingly, consuming more video as well. The full report, sponsored by RSS.com, is available as a free download. Bumper has launched the Bumper Score, a new tool built to close the trust gap between podcast listenership and advertiser confidence, the company says. They suggest that the next $1 billion in podcasting starts with better data. The tool uses verified metrics to give a simple score for strong verified reach. It'll be free to all podcasters, and you can join the waitlist today. Podcast app and hosting service Fountain is hosting a night of live music at famous East End music pub The Old Blue Last in London on April the 30th. The event is starting with a panel session talking about open music hosted on RSS and how artists get paid, and then an eclectic lineup of rising UK artists, all streaming live on Fountain. The US business of podcast network Studio 71 has been acquired by Fixated, a creator representation and monetization company. No terms were given. The combined company now represents a global network of more than 1,000 creators. The Wall Street Journal publishes a paywalled article highlighting how video podcasts are making audio podcasts worse to listen to. Overly visual shows where podcasters are referring to things on screen that you can't see, or where coming up clips rely on a visual graphic saying coming up invisible in the audio version, are highlighted in the piece. The piece starts by quoting one podcast listener who says she's annoyed by this sort of thing, credited as Jordan Blair, a 35-year-old from Idaho. We always wondered why Buzzcast wasn't in video, Jordan. Irish broadcaster RTE has for the first time licensed a podcast to a US distribution partner. Stolen Sister tells the story of the murder of Elizabeth Plunkett and has been licensed to Pushkin Industries. The Australian podcast ranker was released for March. The number one show is women's podcast Mamma Mia Out Loud, and it's achieved almost double the total downloads of the number two show from Hamish and Andy. The ranker measures participating publishers only. In People News, sports and lifestyle media network Believe has hired two new directors of partnerships. Marianne Alvarez joins from CNN Audio. Gretchen Waller joins from Realm and True Native Media. Mark Rako has been hired as the director of Legal Talk Network, an online legal media network. He was previously head of audio at Linktree, head of content at B2B marketing agency Content Monster, and co-founded Mouth Media Network. And Rick Ankers, formerly of Platform Media, has launched a new global holding company called 216 Group. Now, being invisible might work for superheroes, but it's rubbish for podcasts. If your show doesn't show up in Apple or Spotify search, it sounds like this. Yes, it's basically silent. The podcast search optimization tool at OSHA helps you get into the top search results where new listeners actually click, and you can try the OSHA podcast search optimization tool free for 7 days and get $20 off any plan with the code MOREVISIBLE at osha.co. That's more visible, or one word, at OSHA, AUSHA.co, because super content deserves super visibility. And in podcast news with Airwave, security now is needed more than ever as AI-generated code runs amok on the internet. Steve Gibson joins Leo Laporte every Tuesday. We link to the video feed today, playable on Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts and plenty of other places. And talking about video, Italian culture podcast Italian for Sure is now available in video on Apple Podcasts, Spotify and YouTube. The host says that the podcast has switched from Megaphone to Art19 to take advantage of video on Apple Podcasts. We also link to plenty of new shows around Earth Day, a show around King Charles, from Calaroga Shark Media, and Season 4 of More Than Lucky, the return of a podcast for women who are ready to create intentional change. More at podnews.net or in our newsletter. And this podcast is sponsored by Podscribe. Join Podscribe at the innovation stage at Possible. Learn how to buy audio more effectively and drive measurable results with Podscribe's Matt Drengler. It's on April the 29th at 12:10 p.m. and you can save your spot with a link you'll find in our show notes. I should say 12:10 p.m. Eastern time, but you knew that anyway, didn't you? And that's the latest from our newsletter. To read all the stories and subscribe for free and fill out the report card, we're at podnews.net.